welcome to the Zadzooks Happy Hour, a podcast providing commentary on the latest in film, TV, games, and comics. My name is Todd Stoll, and I'm joined by 25-year veteran reporter covering pop culture, video games, and technology for the Washington Times, Joseph Zadkowski. So, how's it going?
You're going to get a crick in your neck doing that.
Yeah. It's working.
How is your neck?
I'm getting stitches out tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Problem?
It's fine.
Just because you don't wear a hat?
No, I don't know.
Because you don't have long hair?
It's just they wanted to take some skin, I guess. It's all good. It's all good. Oh, man. What a way to start this thing off, huh?
Yeah.
And you know what?
It's like a funeral.
It's cause to celebrate because we've hit another milestone. We're at 30 episodes now.
Wow. It's hard to believe it's already 30.
Yeah.
Wow. Almost as many people have heard them, too.
Oh, no,
so
more than 30.
All right.
Like 32.
There you go.
Yeah. So we've got a vast array of things we're going to discuss today.
You're going to talk about it because I didn't even dive into that.
All right. So you want to talk about the iOS / I guess mobile game Futurama, which we'll talk about later. You'll talk about the Cure for Wellness since my DVD player decided that it didn't like it.
So you didn't watch any of it?
It just chopped around so much it wasn't worth me commenting on.
Bummer.
We both have seen Preacher Season 1 and Season 2 is out, so
right.
I think it makes sense to touch up on that. I screened CHiPS on Blu-ray.
Lucky guy.
And I screened in theaters Baby Driver.
You actually went to a theater?
I did. I was there by myself. It was great.
Wow.
I went July 3rd.
Wow.
And there was no one there. It was fantastic. So,
really, it was you,
just me.
Wow, it
was great.
Yeah,
it was
too bad it wasn't.
The only problem that I have with the theater is I think they either have the volume too loud and it screws with the sound because it just at times sounded so modulated. And you know that,
or is it because there was no one in the theater?
I don't think no. It's just there were certain points where it just seems like they have it up too loud, and it messes with the audio. And you know there's no way a movie's going through production and is going to have bad audio.
No. Right.
So I mean, otherwise, I like the movie a lot. I won't give too much away, other than. There is a driver in his mid-20s, I would say. His name is Baby, or his nickname is Baby, who is a getaway driver who works for a character called Doc, who is played by Kevin Spacey.
That's great.
And there's a backstory as to why he works with Doc, which is very cool. You have John Bernthal from The Walking Dead fame and now The Punisher on CW? CW.
The Punisher is on Netflix only.
Netflix only, okay. Right. John Hamm from Mad Men, who plays Buddy.
Great cast.
Jamie Foxx as Bats.
Really?
There's one character I really like. It's portrayed by an actor, C.J. Jones, who is basically Baby's caretaker, and he's blind, but he's very cool. You have Lily James, who plays Deborah, who's the love interest, and Eiza Gonzalez, who plays John Hamm's significant other. Flea,
really,
from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
No, that's cool.
It's very cool. It's primarily filmed based upon the music you're listening to. So there's a lot of things that are in sync with that. Trunks close to the beat of the drum,
right? Or
bullets are being fired to the beat of a drum. It's a pretty good soundtrack. Not bad. I think it's one of Edgar Wright's better films. Certainly is at a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes still, with I think 93% saying they liked it, and it's doubled its budget money. So
wasn't there something he was supposed to be doing that he didn't end up getting to do, like Ant-Man?
Ant-Man. He directed, I think, half of it, and then left for creative differences.
Oh,
but his name's still on it, obviously.
Right. It was still it was a great movie,
and I think it's his script,
right?
But it's not. It's not his movie.
Got it.
And then I don't know what he's doing next, but. That dude is pretty intense. I think he spends like 3 years working on movies nonstop and burns himself out.
Everything he's touched has been pretty great, right?
Yeah, I think like the lowest rating was a 75 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome. So that movie for me is an A. You should go see it. It may not be for everybody if you don't like that style of
you
film.
don't like blockbuster action scenes?
It's not. I would say the biggest chase is in the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, I think from there it's sort of character development, which is nice. It's very cool. So I'll give that an A.
But it's not like John Wick great.
It's different.
Okay.
It's different. It's meant to be a bit sentimental, I would say.
Okay.
Feels that way.
Okay.
Like you really want to relate to the characters and see the good guys be good and the bad guys be bad.
Okay.
Then we'll move on to CHiPS on Blu-ray.
Which is a steaming pile of chips.
Still not as bad as Masterminds.
So that is our
I watched it all the way through.
benchmark.
It's my benchmark. For me,
is it better or worse than Masterminds, right?
There's a lot of like toilet humor, a lot of
I heard they couldn't figure out if it was supposed to be an action movie or just a ridiculous comedy.
It's both.
Right.
And I mean Michael Pena is pretty good in it, but the writing around like there's like some homophobic stuff in it.
Right.
There's a lot of genitals being touched and rubbed and
just like the original TV series.
I mean exactly.
Right.
There is a cameo by Eric Estrada, who originally played Paunch.
Is he a taxi driver?
He is an ambulance guy working in the back.
Okay.
John is a former BMX champion who can't ride anymore because he has injured himself too many times. And so his wife is leaving him, and he decides he wants to ride motorcycles for the California Highway Patrol. And Paunch is an FBI agent going undercover because there is something afoot going on in the LAPD.
Got it.
It's got a pretty good cast. Vincent D'Onofrio. Adam,
whoa, that's Kingpin, right? That's the dude from...
He was in Magnificent Seven. He
Yeah.
played, and he was in Men in Black. He played one of the bad guys.
No, but the Army movie.
Oh, dude. I mean, he's been in so many things. It's crazy. I mean, he's the main bad guy. Adam Brody, who was on the OC, is in it. Jane Krasinski,
Sure.
from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yep.
Maya Rudolph,
Of course.
from Saturday Night Live, and Kristen Bell, who is Dax Shepard's wife, is in
Got it. Great.
This movie is a D+.
Okay.
I mean,
But Mastermind would be an F.
it's an F.
Okay.
I watched it. I made it through.
You survived.
I don't regret watching it. I'll
Okay.
never watch it again.
Okay.
Ever.
Extras?
Horrible.
Really?
Oh, so bad.
Gag reel?
Yeah, but it was mostly ad-libbing different
So
scenarios.
linorama, meaning basically
I mean, there was just a lot of cut scenes, deleted scenes was
Okay.
the biggest thing. Shephard introduces, which I think is kind of cool. He introduces that they hired this company to essentially create who has all these different vehicles for different scenarios to film, because he wanted no CGI, or as very minimal CGI as he could get. So they introduce those guys, and they kind of follow them around and use these different cars. It's a company called Pursuit.
Okay.
And they've got like a dune buggy, and they've got all sorts of different cars that they use in any sort of chase sequence. And so it was really important for them to not have CGI. They had a demolitions expert who did the explosions.
Right.
So there may be some stuff that's CGI, but it's maybe less than a second on the screen, which I appreciate.
Right.
Some realism, which I think is probably why I could watch it all the way through and not roll my eyes at it.
Mm-hmm.
But the premise of the movie is it just doesn't have a great story. It's just...
Will they stop going back and grabbing
No.
classic TV shows?
Never.
Making stupid movies.
I'm waiting for like
reboots over them.
Car 54, Where Are You?
Yeah.
Or
The Munsters.
they tried to do that. Remember, it was a Mockingbird Lane,
Yeah.
and they did a pilot, and they released a pilot, and they never did another one.
Right.
And I actually didn't mind it. I'm waiting for Gunsmoke. I mean, it's
It's
right.
a matter of time.
Or they did remake Dallas, didn't they? No,
They sure did.
They extended that.
Yeah.
Brady Bunch. I mean, come on. That would be hard for people to swallow in today's age. So no, it was not,
But the Brady Bunch movies were more like mocking the Brady Bunch TV show.
Yeah, it was
little.
If they attempted to, what they would do is, like, I don't remember the other TV show that they just recently did it, where they redid it. It was an all-black cast, although from the 70s it was an all-white cast. It was very just really poorly written and didn't last but a season. I don't remember the show, but it doesn't really matter what it is. But if you were to do the Brady Bunch now, there would be gay characters. It would be hijinks that there was never in that, and that's, you'd never be able to get it. But it is what it is. So, you want to keep going? Should we just burn through a couple of these and then take a break?
Well, I was kind of taking a nap, but you really want me to get? Hold on.
Is it that bad? I mean, wow.
I knew CHiPS was going to stink, so
you should watch it.
Why?
You should watch it.
There's so many great things in the galaxy,
but you should watch it. You should watch. Your kid would like it, I think.
So that would be more like a 17-year-old evening film.
Yeah.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
He's completely hooked on The Flash right now, by the way. I don't know if you've watched any of The Flash. It's a really good TV series. It's sucked in his entire group of 17-year-olds.
Really?
What does that say about a show? Right?
Really? Now I forget.
He's watching it on Netflix, and that's fine, but he's watching it.
Well, you know what? Netflix... See, the thing with the comic book stuff, like the DC stuff, is they just put it on CW.
Yeah.
But I feel like with Netflix, there's a little bit more money to play there.
But, all right, Flash is on CW.
Right.
But the arrangement with Netflix is they're running it on Netflix.
And there's no commercials.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I honestly don't know how you can watch a TV show now without watching it streamed with no commercials. I mean, I can't watch TV in any other way.
And I just finished up American Horror Story, the last season, the Roanoke.
Yeah. Was it bad or good?
Grotesque.
Oh.
It was disgusting.
Really?
You will not find a more grotesque and disgusting season of American Horror Story.
Yeah,
I don't know if I like it yet.
But in terms
the
of...
disembowelment scenes, and there were multiples.
But in terms of gore, how would you rate it on other TV shows like The Walking Dead?
On gore?
Yeah.
10.
I mean, would you rate it over Walking Dead for gore?
Oh, yeah.
What about the premiere episode this season with Negan? That's pretty hardcore.
But I'm telling you, this show has disembowelments, and they show it.
Are they doing another one?
Oh, yeah. But I don't know. They're not going to go back. I mean, the premise was great.
Yeah.
There was, they bought a house in Rome. It was the Lost Colony.
Nice.
Okay? And that was a great idea.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. So more horror in A Cure for Wellness, which I'm kind of on the fence with. It's from director Gore Verbinski. He's done a lot of the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, which was the early ones were pretty fun. I enjoyed those. Anyway, it's a long movie. It's 2.5 hours long. So I got a feeling it wasn't your DVD player. You just didn't want to sit through 2.5 hours of this.
No, I don't know what it was, but the first, I would say 30 minutes, I maybe caught 10 of it, and I had to keep fast forwarding and trying to back up. And I don't know if it was the disc, the firmware or what it was, but I was like, well, if I can't see the beginning, what's the point?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have missed anything. Let me put it that way. So, God, in a nutshell, as they say, there's this character, a young guy named Lockhart, who is told to go to a wellness institute and retrieve a CEO of his company, a CFO, so that they can complete this merger and save their financial institution. So that's fine. That's level 1. He shows up, and there's like this flock of old people at this wellness center just really digging it and enjoying what's going on and really enjoying the water. Well-hydrated group of individuals. They will not let this young guy see the CFO because he's very happy there and he doesn't want to leave. So the young guy's getting pushback from everybody involved, including the director, played by Jason Isaacs. Brilliant Jason Isaacs. So the guy says, "That's great, I'm leaving." He leaves, gets into a car accident, breaks his leg, wakes up in the Institute. Now he is a patient of the Institute, and things start to unravel. And there is if you can think of any of the old Hammer horror films, and if you can think of Dr. Phibes, do you remember Dr. Phibes?
No.
It's hard to believe. My editor had no idea who that was.
No.
Vincent Price created a character called Dr. Phibes, and it's a horror show about, it's a horror film series about a guy who loses his wife, and he ends up horribly scarred, and he kills people in really weird ways. But there's this tie-in a little bit. I don't want to say it's Dr. Phibes, but the film really just gets crazier and crazier toward the end, so that it literally turns into a classic monster movie. It's good.
Okay.
It really is good. A lot of critics complained about the narrative was just way too long, and the slow burning process to get there was just painful. And the other thing about it is it's beautifully shot. It's set against the Swiss Alps and like kind of World War II vintage institution look. You know what I mean?
Well, when you told me about this, I was like, I don't even remember hearing this movie come out. Like, when did it come out? Like, was it limited release in the U.S.?
No, it was a full. Nobody cared.
I guess.
It just like nobody cared.
So, how were the special features?
It was weird because there was like they looked a 4-minute look at the musical score. Okay, it was a weird musical score, but and then they had a trio of meditation videos.
Oh.
Water, air, and earth. So you watch these videos, and there's this narrator. Relax, breathe in, breathe out, relax. And it's creepier than relaxing for me because after you watch the movie, it's just
that's really odd. Is it to make it seem like you're in the center?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't want to give away anything because there's a lot going on in this movie, and there's this great backstory. But I found it worth my time. I would go and rent it in a heartbeat.
Okay.
So I'd give it a B, a solid B. And as far as you know, from a guy who really likes Hammer horror films and like Dr. Phibes and stuff like that, Jason Isaacs is really good in it. He's very understated, and there's a lot of creepy stuff that goes on. And there's a scene in a dentist chair that is just, it'll make your skin crawl.
Oh.
So
well, maybe I'm glad I didn't watch it then.
Yeah, it really will freak you out if you're not a big fan of going to the dentist.
All right.
Oh, there it is right there. See?
Yeah.
He's having a problem with a tooth.
That's not great. Especially for people who can't see what we're looking at.
Yeah, it's a picture of the lead character, Lockhart, with some level of a brace on his mouth to force it open so that they can perform some dental work.
Lovely.
It doesn't go well.
That's why people don't like going to the dentist.
That's right. But I don't think that'll happen at your local dentist office.
You never know.
I know.
You never know. Okay, well, we'll take a break.
Great.
We'll come back. There's more to talk about.
Thank you.
We'll talk about Preacher. We'll talk about Futurama.
Okay.
And the box office, and go from there.
Communities Digital News, built by the writers and editors that deliver the news 24 hours a day. Visit comdiginews.com. That's COMMDIGI news.com. And support the next evolution in news.
I am really trying very hard to now dig into other TV shows that either have been out for a while and I haven't been able to catch up now with Fargo being done.
It's what I did with American Horror Story.
Yeah, and Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
And I know that Game of Thrones is coming up, so I've got a really short window.
Does that start tonight or next week?
I think it's next week.
Okay.
I think it's next Sunday.
Got it.
So, on a whim, after listening to an interview with Seth Rogen, who is the co-creator of Preacher, I went back, and on Hulu they had season 1 available, and I know season 2 just started. So I burned through 10 episodes pretty quickly. And you said you've seen...
I've seen the first season got hooked on the first episode. It was one of my favorite comics for a while. It was a DC comic, the Vertigo imprint, and my wife was really hooked on it for a while too. It's really well done. If you remember what the comic was like compared to how they set it up, it's very reverential to the source material. So that's good.
There's only a few things that I've seen online that people don't like, which is Cassidy, played by Joseph Gilgun, who's Scottish, I guess. Mm-hmm. He doesn't wear the shades as much.
Cassidy is a vampire.
Right.
And a very cool vampire.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
And they say their complaint was that in the comics he's never not without his sunglasses on, and in the show there's a fair amount of time where he's not wearing them.
Do you want to explain the premise? Because I don't even remember it.
Okay, so the premise is that you are in a town in quote unquote Texas, even though it's filmed in Louisiana.
Right.
And you are the main character is a preacher named Jesse Custer. And he is kind of a burnout and has been arrested and done numerous things and is trying to carry on his father's church in this small town in Texas. And things go south for him quickly. His childhood girlfriend comes back into the picture, Tulip.
Yes.
And... he's surrounded by a town full of, basically everyone is bad in some way, shape, or form. And the real premise of Preacher is that there is this being named Genesis who is trying to find a host body. And it kind of goes through the first episode, keeps finding preachers, enters them, and they explode. And eventually it enters into Jesse Custer, and it doesn't. And he now has the power to suggest things to people and make them do whatever he wants them to do.
But this is classic heaven versus hell.
Yes, very much so. There's a pretty big twist in the finale of season 1, which is pretty
great.
Pretty out there.
Pretty funny.
But I don't want to give too much away other than I think if you are at all interested in really good television, very beautifully shot television, there is an ambience to the filming of it that's almost its own character. The church is very run down. There's bullets flying constantly.
But it's violent.
The vampire is eating people left and right.
Who's the owner of the company? Who's probably my favorite?
Okay, he was in Watchmen.
Yes.
And he, dude.
I don't know his name.
It's, I am totally, I have it on the tip of my tongue. It's,
I can see
Earl.
his face.
It's,
Earl. Jackie Earl Haley?
Yes, that's it. And he's the owner of a meat processing company.
It is just gross. Going through the season with him is unbelievable.
And there's like a pool of waste that's bubbling half the time, and the whole town is powered by what is it? It's like sulfuric. It's powered by like a sulfur treatment facility.
Right.
That's how they use their energy. There's a character called Arseface, and his face looks like a butthole because he shot himself in the face
with a shotgun. And he didn't finish the job.
It's just really out there.
But this is very, very, very close, I think, to what Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon were trying to do with the comic book.
Well, and
what they did with the comic book.
And what I like about it is that when Seth Rogen and his partner, Evan Goldberg bought the rights to it, it was because Rogen was a huge fan of the comic. And they have directed the first 2 episodes of each season to sort of set the tone.
Yep.
And the writing is phenomenal. And it's a huge departure, in my opinion, from their other work. But it's crazy. And in season 2, They leave the small town in Texas, and they're kind of on the run, and they're looking for someone.
Which is what the comic book is more about. They travel across the country causing problems.
Right.
So,
and it's very cool, and a lot goes on, and a lot of really crazy
highly
things.
recommended.
Yes, and so I'm caught up on season 2.
Okay.
So get it, watch it, enjoy it. It's violent, but you'll like it.
Okay. So you want to go over...
Let's do Futurama.
Yep. So there was this... And I don't know how big of a fan you were. I was a marginal fan of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it a lot when it was on reruns, and then I caught a little bit of it when they revised it.
Twice canceled, but always on TV show.
Yes.
From Fox and Cartoon Network.
Sounds familiar with Fox, doesn't it? Seems like there's a couple other shows they've canceled and brought back.
Futurama, Worlds of Tomorrow.
A Matt Groening original production.
They came up with an original story with the head writer David X. Cohen and Matt, and it's about something called the Hypnotoad causing a rift in the galaxy, and you have to get together the old Pizza Planet Express crew gang and find these artifacts. It is a freemium title. Freemium. It's from the same guys, I believe, who did The Family Guy and The Simpsons.
Now, The Simpsons
did Electronic Arts. So Electronic Arts, that concept was moved over to The Family Guy.
Right.
And then The Family Guy.
Right. Family Guy, it seemed like every time you turned around, you had to go get different things, and you had a certain amount of time to get it. And if you couldn't get it, then you lost out on it. So I always heard of people dropping ridiculous amounts of money so that they could get these things, and then you never did anything with them.
So kind of the difference here is everything you do has a time period applied to it. Meaning if you want Amy to recharge her cell phone, it's an hour. If you want Bender to get something, you're going to have to wait 2 hours. If you want the professor to do something wacky, it's going to take 2, 3, 4 hours. Okay, so how do they solve that? They solve it with you're collecting things, and one of the things you can collect as the currency is pizza slices. Pizza slices are really hard to come by in this universe. There's a billboard in the middle of the New York area where you can watch a really bad commercial for another game and get one pizza slice. The problem with this game is there's so much to do, which is great. There's lots of amazing tributes to all the characters. They couldn't be more on with everything in this universe. It looks just like it. It's all great. But you can't do any of it because it takes forever to get anything. And the problem is these pizza slices are impossible to find, and they want you to spend money.
This was the complaint I had with Family Guy and why I got disinterested with it really quickly. The premise was great. The characters were there. But anytime you wanted to do anything, you had to have the resources to do it, and you could never get it in time.
See, luckily, and I'll give you an example of what you just said, but it's like 3,500 pizza slices is $99. Who in their right mind would ever buy that for this game? I mean, when you could go buy an Xbox One game for $40, $50, $60 and get a brand new...
That's my frustration with these games is I would love to... I mean, these characters and these towns are so popular. Why not make it on a platform?
Or why not offer it? I mean, are people so fed up with spending money to buy an app that they just don't do it anymore?
No.
I would, if I was a huge future... If they built a game on the live-action Batman show from the 60s...
Yeah.
I'd drop $20, $30 to play that game.
Of course
to
you
have
would.
the ability to play that and go through it.
Yeah, of course you would.
So here's a great example of frustration for the player. On the July 4th weekend, you could buy the Watergate Hotel with these two characters, which is Spiro Agnew's body and Richard Nixon's disembodied head in a jar. Those characters were on the show.
Right.
It was, very funny at the time when they had them. But to do that, it's 375 pizza slices.
Yeah, so you have to
get that, you would have to spend roughly $15 to get that character in the hotel.
That's unbelievable. And people are buying it. You know they are. They are.
Yeah. And I'm stunned. Like I said, they did a fantastic job with this game, but it's ridiculous.
But all these games, like games of war or like tower defense.
Oh yeah.
That's the only way to win is you have to spend money.
It's all in-app purchase now,
and it's frustrating because I worry you've seen some dabbling take place on Xbox
on game centers, right?
Yeah, where it's like, oh well, for $2.99 you can buy this expansion pack.
Or costumes or stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's just like, come on. I want to spend $50 and I want the game and that's it.
The only thing that those companies have done right with the Xbox releases and the PS4 releases is they offer you when you initially buy the game that you can get a season's pass.
Right.
So you're paying an extra $20 or whatever, but you get all the downloadable content as it's produced.
Yeah.
So that's fair.
So speaking of video games and systems in general, did you see that they are coming out with the Super Nintendo?
I sure did.
And I'm totally getting that when it comes out. Every one of those games I was a huge fan of and played them for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
Now, I was more an Atari kind of guy and a Sega Genesis guy, and I've just found out they're releasing those in the same kind of format, vintage, console looking.
Yep.
And I can't wait for those.
The best game I ever played was a Nintendo GameCube game, and it was Mario Tennis. And if they ever do a standalone...
well, didn't that port over to the Wii?
No.
Where you could play with your little rackets and stuff?
No, this was very different. I played this when I worked night crew at a toy store.
Okay.
And we didn't work and instead played video games.
Nice.
And it was really fun. But, I mean... Nintendo has claimed that they have fixed the production problem and you should have no problems getting this system when it comes out in September.
Great.
I will believe it when I see it.
Okay.
So, another game platform for us to review, I guess.
Sure.
So, I'm excited about that, though. So, you got anything coming out next week? What do we...
So, they finally released The Fifth Element for its 20th anniversary on 4K UHD. They had released it previously. They remastered it in 4K on Blu-ray, but now we're going to get to see what it looks like in pure 4K UHD. So that'll be fun. Great film.
Love that film.
Home run. Along with that, they released Luc Besson's Leon the Professional on 4K UHD.
Love that movie,
Very
too.
hot. The latest Fast and Furious is now available on 4K this Tuesday. So we will definitely take a look at that next week.
What Kong Skull Island? Is that coming out?
Soon. Another week.
Yeah.
But the Fast and Furious thing made like $1 billion. So it was another massive cash grab. And a lot of people seem to enjoy it. So I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, in some ways, Spider-Man coming out this week is a massive cash grab, right? They're basically just introducing this character in another standalone movie.
And I don't feel so great about that, the way they do this all the time.
No.
I mean, we're up to our third Spider-Man.
I'm worried about Iron Man.
Well, I think, what have I read? That he's not going to do it much longer.
No, he's done. He's done after the Avengers 4.
Right.
Is his last one.
So I hope they don't reboot it, because he was by far the best
How can you have
Tony Stark ever.
How can you have anybody else do it?
I don't know.
Who else could play that other than Robert Downey Jr.? That's a perfect role for him.
And I should mention our condolences to Stan Lee. He lost his wife this week.
Yeah.
She was 93, I think.
93, 94.
He's 94, and he's still running the convention circuit. I'm thrilled. I mean, he is the last warrior, one of the last warriors from that generation, the guys who really gave us all these great characters.
And wasn't his wife with him a lot?
Oh,
too?
very much.
I mean, I feel like she was around a lot. So the celebrity deaths are starting to get pretty depressing.
It's tough to get old.
Yeah, I guess. You know, it's just rough. So number one at the box office, Spider-Man. So
we're closing out with a real upbeat.
Stan, I guess. I don't know what to say, pal, but these things are just home runs over and over and over again.
I am glad. I'm glad he lived to see it. Okay,
I'm
glad he lived to see it because he knew these characters were great. You know.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, from what I've read, is what makes the movie so good is that all the big elements happen when he's not wearing the suit.
Right.
Like the big character sort of build.
Right.
But it also helps that Iron Man's in it too.
Yeah.
So I don't know that you can go wrong there.
Cool.
All right. So until next week, I am Todd Stowell.
I am okay.
Marginally Joe.
I'm marginally Joe Zadkowski. Thank you.
All right. And, find us online.
For Pete's sakes, find us online.
YouTube.
Stitcher.
Tuned in. Stitcher. Find it on
We're everywhere.
Your Alexa app.
You should, in theory, accidentally stumble across us for something.
Somebody will. One day.
Desperation.
Yeah.